They never thought the day would come when the mask would fall. But guess what? It just did. Spirit warriors, have you ever been so misunderstood, so wrongly judged, that your silence echoed louder than a scream? There once was a girl, a chosen one, who walked through a storm with her head held high. People whispered lies behind her back, painted her like a villain in a story she never wrote. But through it all, she said nothing. Not because she didn't have a side, but because her spirit knew the truth didn't need defense, just divine timing. Now, years later, the same people who crucified her with gossip are choking on the guilt they tried to bury. That girl could have been you. Chosen ones, the sick truth is finally out. They lied. And now they're drowning in shame because no one ever bothered to ask for your side of the story. This isn't just a you survived story. This is the divine plot twist that's exposing every hidden agenda, every false narrative, and every Judas kiss disguised as a hug. You stayed silent, spirit warrior, but God was taking notes. The truth does not require defense, it only needs time. Stay with me, chosen ones, because in this video we're going deep. We're pulling back the veil on why people tried to rewrite your story without your permission, why your silence was mistaken for guilt, and why now the guilt is eating them alive. And by the end of this video, you'll understand that you were never being punished. You were being prepared. So get comfortable, spirit warriors. Grab your tea, your journal, and your favorite candle, because what we're about to unravel is your redemption arc in real time. Let's go. Point 1. The silence that spoke volumes. Chosen ones, let's talk about the misunderstood power of silence, your silence. See, in a world that constantly demands a reaction, your stillness was your rebellion. While others gossiped, pointed fingers, and twisted your name into every story that would get them attention, you chose stillness. And not because you didn't have the words. Oh no. You had words that could have shut the whole thing down. But your silence wasn't weakness. It was sacred strategy. It was obedience. It was spiritual warfare on a level they couldn't understand. You weren't hiding. You were healing. You weren't ignoring. You were elevating. They thought your quiet meant surrender. What they didn't see was that you were fasting from drama, detoxing from the noise, and aligning yourself with something much greater than their whispers. Purpose. While they invested energy into pulling you down, you were investing in your own becoming. And here's the part they never saw coming. Your silence grew louder than their slander. Because silence backed by integrity, that becomes a megaphone over time. The truth doesn't need to shout, it echoes. And the more you grew in strength, the more their lies grew stale. Every room they tried to ruin you in is now filled with your favor. Every lie they launched became a stepping stone to your elevation. Why? Because you didn't fight fire with fire. You let God handle the heat. People forget. God doesn't fight fair, he fights divine. While they swung swords, he was preparing your table. While they tried to destroy your name, he was writing your new chapter. Chosen ones, you didn't have to scream your innocence, you lived it. Your character outlasted their chaos. And that is spiritual mastery. Now your silence speaks volumes. It says, I knew, I saw, I chose peace. And the very ones who laughed at your stillness, they're sitting in rooms with their own guilt, wrestling with the truth you never needed to say out loud. Because the loudest victory is the life you built in spite of the noise. So don't regret staying silent. You were never playing small, you were playing spiritually smart. Let your peace continue to preach. Your silence, it was always your secret weapon. Point 2. They needed you to be the villain. Spirit warriors, here's the raw truth. They needed you to be the villain in a story where they were the ones holding the poison. Not because you were wrong, not because you ever betrayed them, but because your light, your presence, your truth exposed things they weren't ready to face. Some people are so tangled in their own insecurities that they can't stand the reflection they see when they're around someone who's pure, honest, and powerful. So what do? They twist the narrative. They take your kindness and call it manipulation. Your silence, suddenly seen as arrogance. Your strength, labeled aggression. Why? Because it's easier to make you the problem than it is to fix what's broken inside of them. Psychologists call this projection. It's a defense mechanism. People unconsciously push their own guilt, fear, or shame onto someone else, usually the one who's strong enough to carry it. And Spirit Warrior, that was you. You were cast as the antagonist in a play they directed with lies and insecurity as the script. They needed an enemy to distract from their own flaws. But the real ones? The ones grounded in spirit and discernment? They always knew something didn't add up. They sensed the tension behind the curtain, the fear behind the accusations. But here's where it gets divine. Truth doesn't die. It doesn't fade or falter. It just waits, quiet, patient, and undeniable. And when the fog clears, because it always does, it hits them like a truth bomb they can't dodge. The guilt creeps in. The regrets begin to whisper. And now, they're sitting in the discomfort of their own lies, while your light still shines undimmed. It's burning them up, not because you retaliated, but because you didn't. You let God handle it. You rose higher. You chose evolution over ego. And that's what separates the Spirit Warrior from the wounded soul. You didn't fight dirty. You didn't beg to be seen. You let your spirit speak through your actions, and now even your silence is louder than their screams. Let them sit with their regret. Let them wrestle with the falsehoods they used to protect their pride. Because your rise, it's a testimony, not just of survival, but of divine resilience. And that, Spirit Warrior, is power they can never rewrite. Point 3. The spiritual test of being misunderstood. Being misunderstood. The hidden battlefield of spiritual growth. Being misunderstood isn't just a frustrating social hiccup. It's spiritual warfare in disguise. It doesn't feel like a battle at first. It feels like loneliness, silence, and the sting of being judged for who you're not. But look deeper, and you'll see. Every moment you've been misread, misjudged, or misrepresented was a divine test of your faith, patience, and self-awareness. These are not ordinary trials. They're sacred opportunities meant to refine your spirit and fortify your soul. When people isolate you or twist your intentions, it's tempting to react. Speak up, clap back, clear your name. But every time you wanted to defend yourself and chose not to, you demonstrated a level of spiritual strength that can't be faked. That was self-mastery in action. In a world that applauds outrage and retaliation, silence becomes a loud act of faith. Choosing inner peace over public vindication is no small feat. It's a declaration that your validation doesn't come from man, but from God. Let's be clear. You weren't isolated because you were unworthy. You were consecrated, set apart for something greater. In ancient times, the act of consecration meant to prepare someone or something for a holy purpose. So yes, that season of separation, it wasn't punishment. It was preparation. You weren't being cast out. You were being cast forward, like an arrow being drawn back before it launches toward its target with divine precision. Science even backs this up. Research in psychology shows that misunderstood individuals often score higher in emotional intelligence, introspection, and resilience. They're thinkers, empaths, visionaries. But guess what? These traits intimidate the average mind. People fear what they don't understand and attack what they fear. That's why being misunderstood can feel like warfare. You're on a higher frequency trying to connect in a world tuned to static. But here's the beautiful twist. While people were busy misjudging you, heaven was busy recognizing you. God saw your restraint. God witnessed your tears, your confusion, your silent prayers for clarity. Nothing was wasted. Not one misunderstood moment. Each one built spiritual muscle and sharpened your divine purpose. So hold your head high. You weren't ignored. You were being identified by heaven. And the very things they misunderstood about you, those are the exact things God will use to elevate you. Point 4. Guilt is louder than regret. Now let's talk about them. The whisperers, the backstabbers, the ones who treated your name like breadcrumbs to be scattered and devoured in secret circles. You know the type. They didn't just talk behind your back. They held entire feasts where your character was the main course. They twisted your words, painted false pictures, and wore fake smiles in your presence while loading up their plates with gossip and envy. But here's the thing, lies are heavy. They don't just vanish. They linger like smoke in a room, choking even the one who lit the match. These people? They're not sleeping well these days. No, It's not karma knocking on their doors. It's their own conscience refusing to let them rest. Guilt, you see, isn't loud like rage. It's quiet. It whispers in the night, it tugs at the heart during conversations, and it creeps in when they least expect it, especially when your name comes up. And oh, it does come up. Because the truth, it always floats to the surface. When someone casually mentions you, they flinch, not because you did anything wrong, but because they remember exactly what they did. But here's the most beautiful part. That flinch is not your revenge. You didn't go seeking payback. You didn't clap back or stoop to their level. What they're feeling is their own reflection staring them down. It's their spirit recognizing that they mishandled a real one, someone who never meant them harm. You were never their enemy. You just existed authentically, and somehow that was enough to trigger their insecurities. What they feel now isn't fear of you. It's fear of being exposed for who they are. Psychologists say that guilt activates the brain's limbic system, the emotional center, especially when one's moral code has been violated. It eats away slowly. Unlike shame, which says, I am bad, guilt says, I did bad. And that realization can be a powerful tormentor. So while you rise, while you grow, while you shine with unbothered peace, they're left trying to silence a noise only they can hear. So don't bother wishing them harm. Let grace be your strategy, and elevation your reply. Their guilt? That's divine justice in slow motion. And you? You're still standing, unshaken and rising higher than ever. Point 5. God is a master revealer. Chosen ones, God doesn't play checkers, He plays chess. Chosen ones, let this settle deep in your spirit. God is not playing a simple game of checkers with your life. He's orchestrating a masterful game of chess, every move calculated, every delay intentional, and every heartbreak designed to develop your strength and reveal your purpose. Checkers is quick, reactive, and obvious, but chess? Oh, chess is strategic. It's about vision, patience, sacrifice, and timing. And in this divine chess game, God has been setting the board, letting your enemies think they were winning, while He quietly prepared your checkmate moment. You see that rejection you cried over? It wasn't a failure, it was a redirection. That lie they spread about you, it wasn't your downfall, it was their exposure. That silence you endured when nobody stood up for you, it was divine insulation while God worked behind the scenes. He saw what they whispered, He watched them manipulate, and He noted the smirks they wore when they thought they'd buried you. But remember, you were never buried, you were planted. And now, oh yes now, you're growing in places they never imagined. Here's where it gets real. Your name is being cleared in rooms you haven't even stepped into yet. People are speaking your truth while you're still silent. Doors are opening not because of earthly influence, but because of heavenly endorsement. The same ones who mocked you, doubted you, and twisted your story. They're watching the narrative unravel, and not in their favor. No PR campaign, no carefully crafted lie, no damage control meeting can outmaneuver the justice of God. When He says the truth will be revealed, it will thunder through the airwaves of their lives. And it's happening now. But chosen one, don't gloat. That's not your assignment. Your role isn't to throw shade, it's to shine. God didn't elevate you so you could match their petty. He raised you up to reflect His glory. While they sit with their regret, you rise with grace. While they scramble to cover their shame, you walk in divine favor. Because in this game of heavenly chess, God made you His queen, powerful, protected, and unstoppable. So lift your head, the reveal is here. And the board? It was always in God's hands. Point 6. When karma shows up quietly. Spirit warriors, let's talk about karma's quiet work, spirit warriors. Here's the truth nobody likes to admit. Karma isn't always loud, dramatic, or Instagram-worthy. Sometimes it doesn't slap with thunder, it whispers in silence. It's not about someone getting hit by instant consequences or flashing signs of justice. No, karma often works in quiet, private corners of people's lives, where no one's watching. Failed relationships that drain instead of fulfill. Career doors that mysteriously stop opening. A heavy, nagging sense of restlessness that steals their sleep at night. That person who once mocked your tears or found amusement in your struggle. They're likely battling storms behind closed doors. And the most poetic part? It's not because you wished them harm. It's because the universe is an expert at rebalancing energy. You see, ancient spiritual teachings, from Buddhism to Hinduism to modern metaphysics, all agree on one thing. Energy you put out eventually circles back. When someone causes harm or acts from ego, the ripple doesn't just vanish. The universe takes note, not with vengeance, but with balance. While you focused on healing, evolving, praying, and pushing forward, karma was doing its quiet work. It wasn't your responsibility to serve justice because the universe has its own divine timing. And oh, how precise it is. Let's be clear. Your growth, your elevation, your glow-up, that's not revenge. That's alignment. You didn't plot or retaliate. You chose peace over petty. And because of that, you didn't just get even. You got elevated. You stepped into a higher frequency. And those who once laughed at your fall, they're left sitting in the same place they mocked you from, now facing a mirror they never expected. A mirror that reflects the very energy they once directed at you. Here's the best part. Your hands stay clean. Your spirit remains light. Because you chose the higher road, your blessings are pure, your mind is free, and your future is open. You were never meant to fight dirty battles. You were meant to rise. So, spirit warrior, keep walking in truth. Karma doesn't need fireworks to work. It just needs time. Let others carry the weight of their choices. You carry purpose, light, and divine protection. And that's why you'll always rise higher. Point 7. Your redemption arc is holy. This is the part they never saw coming. You, standing in the light they swore you'd never reach. Not dragged down by bitterness, not fractured by their betrayal, but standing tall, graced, grounded, glowing. There's a special kind of silence that follows the noise of doubters, and it's called your peace. That glow they now squint at, it's not just from healing, it's from evolving. See, you didn't just survive what they threw at you, you transcended it. You rose with the very weight they hoped would crush you, and turned your pain into power, your silence into strength, and your setbacks into the setup for your testimony. The world loves a comeback, but your story goes deeper than that. It's a resurrection, a divine unfolding. While they watched and whispered, you were being refined, not defeated. They expected to see ashes, but God had other plans, to crown you with beauty. The tears you cried in secret are now the fuel behind a spirit they can't define, and they feel it, even if they can't understand it. And here's the real twist. You didn't clap back. You didn't post a bitter quote. You didn't seek revenge. You simply leveled up. Because chosen ones know this, the most powerful revenge isn't rage, it's radiance. And nothing confuses those who plotted against you more than your peace. That's the part they never prepared for. They built traps, but you built character. They tried to write your ending, but God handed you the pen. Now the truth is catching up to the lies, and they're scrambling to rewrite the narrative they once controlled. But you? You don't need to defend your spirit to people who were committed to misunderstanding it from the start. You don't need to clear your name when your life already speaks for you. Your rise is your response. Your joy is your justice. And your presence is proof that divine timing will always outshine human scheming. So let them sit with their regret while you walk in your calling. You didn't just make it, you became it. You are the lesson they never wanted to learn, and the light they never expected to face. Keep shining, chosen one. Your testimony is unfolding. Spirit warriors, if this resonated with your soul, know this. Your silence was sacred, your pain was purposeful, and your vindication is divine. Keep walking in grace, keep shining in truth, and remember, your side of the story wasn't forgotten. It was reserved for such a time as this, and share this with another chosen one who needs to hear that their redemption arc is loading. Stay strong, stay awake, and most of all, stay chosen. You are not alone. Ever.